Kevin Clower, here from Emergency Physicians Monthly with Ilene Brenner, here to talk about her new book, How to Survive a Medical Malpractice Lawsuit. So tell me about your book.
Well, my book is all about how to help doctors survive a medical malpractice lawsuit. It's the most stressful part of a physician's life. The moment they're sued, they feel like their heart is being ripped out and their intestines are falling out, and you just don't know what to do. And so many people make mistakes from the moment they're sued. And what I do is I walk you through the process. I take you through from the moment you're sued and you get the subpoena, to talking with your attorney, getting an attorney, dealing with conflicts of interest, all the people who are working against you, to the end of the trial. I give you advice on depositions, advice on trial, and most importantly, preventative stuff.
Ilene, you said that people make a lot of mistakes. What's the most common mistake that you're aware of?
The most common mistake, or the worst mistake, I would say that's fairly common, is changing the chart. Ooh. A little subtle bit that you think will never show up because your chart is just your chart, right?
So you mean after you've been served?
After you've been served, yes.
Oh, that is not good.
It is not good, and you would not believe how many doctors do it, and how many doctors get caught doing it, and when they get caught red-handed, they're dead. The suit is over, they've lost. Even if it was a winnable case, it's over. No one will believe anything you say.
Don't you tell us about what happens to a doc's credibility when it appears they've altered the chart after the fact?
There is no credibility. Once you've lied, it's over.
Well, I tell you, even sometimes they're not even lies, right? They make an addition to the chart that may even be an innocent addition that they've forgotten later, but once you've done that, the implication is?
Well, there are legal ways of doing addendums, such as calling it an addendum and dating it, timing it, making it very clear what you said. That being said, addendums should only happen before you've been sued. Right. So if you have something that you want to addend or you want to cross it out, date and time it, that's perfectly fine and you can do that, but never do that after you've been sued.
So what you were talking about initially is actually altering the record as if that was the initial documentation, kind of slipping something in later as if it was always there on the date of service or the date you documented your chart to begin with.
Or worse, actually, someone told me about this recently that happened where a doctor actually just pulled one of the potentially damaging pages from the chart. No one would notice, it's not numbered, so how would you know it was missing? Well, apparently the nurse got on the stand and was talking about information that wasn't there in the chart, and she remembered charting on it, and it ended up becoming very damaging to the doctor that they were on record going to medical records just before this information disappeared. So you think that there is no proof of this, but he got caught. You're bored.
What are the docs that you've talked with and spoken with about their medical malpractice lawsuits, what's their biggest concern, their number one concern?
That they're going to lose their financial security, that they're not going to be able to get a job again, that it's a scarlet letter. You feel like you're the only one who this has happened to, and that if you try that you're stuck in your job now because you may not like where you're working, but if you try to leave, who's going to hire you?
Right.
Because now you've been sued.
Sure.
But the fact is that most doctors have been sued. In fact, there's the joke that says that if you haven't been sued, you haven't really got a good practice. Right.
Well, maybe that's true. Now, I've heard some people say, I don't know if you've touched on this in the book or not, about this is kind of similar. The process emotionally going through the lawsuit is almost like the stages of death and dying. And
It is. I actually have a psychology degree in college, and I noticed a lot of similarities between what a doctor goes through when they're sued and the Kubler-Ross stages of death and dying. And you do seem to go through most of those stages.
So there are how many stages? 5 stages?
5 stages. Of course, the 5th one is more the resolution.
You see, for me, I've remembered them with lawsuits as being really pissed off, totally pissed off, really pissed off, super pissed off, and then when it's over, a little less pissed off. Those are the 5 stages in grieving of a lawsuit.
Okay, well, that's fair, and the first one is denial. So what happens in denial? You don't look at anything, you don't listen to your attorney. Your attorney says you need to do this, and you put it in a pile somewhere, and you don't touch it, and that information that you needed to give to your attorney and research and do all the work that you need to do for your trial, you're not doing, you're not helping yourself. So denial is very dangerous. And then you have the anger stage, which clearly you're familiar with. Well, when you're angry, you tend not to listen to good advice. And doctors who are angry at trial make very bad witnesses and look very bad to jurors. So you need to deal with that anger. If you're angry when it comes time for the deposition or trial, you need to find a way to deal with it, mask it, or in a more healthy way, actually deal with it before you get to that point. And there's the bargaining stage. The bargaining stage is a little bit more nebulous. That's more like, if I practice defensive medicine, then I won't have to worry about this anymore. It's a little bit different, but it's in that realm, and it doesn't really harm your case per se, but I would say it doesn't make you as good a doctor.
I think, tell me what you think about these two concepts, because with our risk retention group, we make decisions based on some of the concepts that you talked about regarding how we're going to defend a case, if we're going to defend a case. If we know that a physician really is going to be a horrible witness, that is probably one of the biggest determining factors that we can't bring that case forward in defense. We're more likely to settle that case.
A doctor who is a bad witness is definitely a problem, and that's where you need good trial prep, because my father is a medical malpractice attorney for the defense, and he's had clients who are really bad, and what he does is he rehabilitates them. He beats them up and straightens them out until he gets them to a point where they're going to do well at trial. He's had clients who barely speak English. So how can you be a good witness if you don't speak good English?
Stick to yes and no answers. You gotta.
Well, he does that, and in New York it's a little easier because they don't allow you to speak too much. It is more yes and no, I don't know. Whereas in Georgia, where I practice, it's a lot more free form. You can say yes and blah, 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 blah. Attorneys hate that, but it's completely legal. In New York, anything after yes and no would be struck. But here's the key. What he would do is he would train his non-English speaking client to have his defense memorized in what's called an elevator speech. 1 to 2 sentences that he's got memorized, and he would give him a cue. Anytime you hear these words, spurt that out. Just spit it out.
Right.
And if they object to it, that's fine. But that's your cue. That's when you want to speak more, and this is what you say. And it works.
Good.
And so it seems as if he is a bit more fluent than he is, and my dad has won a number of cases with potentially bad clients. But here's the thing: a bad client are the ones who are stuck in those stages. If you're a bad client, is not necessarily someone who's shy, who's nervous. It's the angry ones. It's the ones who think that they're so smart, they come off arrogant. Those are the ones that have problems. If you get through your anger, if you get through your frustrations, your depression, and you try to move through that and you get help, whether it's professional or through family and close friends, if you get that help that you need to not be so frustrated, that's when you can be a better advocate for yourself. Because one thing I've learned from the experience of being on the stand is you are your own best expert. If you get on the stand,
you're also your own worst enemy as well.
You're your worst enemy, but you're your best expert. If they can hire anyone for a lot of money to get on the stand and say anything, but if you get up there and you teach the jury and they like your style and they can learn from you, well, then if they learn from you, they're gonna think, well, this is a smart doctor, they know what they're doing. If you come off condescending, for instance, this has actually happened in a case of my dad's with a resident who ended up having a very bad result, who didn't do anything, but it was their attitude that got them found against. And this is why, and the jury said it after they found against her what they didn't like, and is this particular phrase. There was a, sure you can. Can you do this? This wouldn't be allowed. Sure you can. So there's different ways you can inflect on that. Sure you can.
Right.
Or, sure you can.
I like the second one better. Did I pick the right one?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
Very good.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Have you tried that show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
I have not, and I will just say I'm not, okay? Right.